Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Complete Sports Media's podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Campbell. And right away, I've got Dale Cory joining me. How you doing, Dale? Happy Thursday.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day here in the Okanagan. I think we're approaching 30 degrees again, and there's still lots of people visit the city and throughout the Okanagan. I was actually down in the Soyuz spending some time yesterday and spoke with Daniel Bibby, who's the general manager at Spirit Ridge, the big resort up there. He says it's been busier there than it was last year. So, it seems like people are staying in British Columbia for their holidays, which is great. They're spending money around these areas, and that's good to see. So Labor Day weekend, after Monday, it'll all quiet down. Everybody will go home, and things will return to normal for the next 8 or 9 months.
Yeah, that's always the case there in the Okanagan. It definitely increases. A lot of tourists head there for the summertime, and then Labor Day is kind of the last of it. Here in the Lower Mainland, it seems like it gets a lot more quiet this weekend. Everybody seems to go away, head off camping, head off to see.
They're all coming out here.
Yeah, they all go there. Yeah, so if you stay here in the Lower Mainland, it's usually pretty quiet, which is good sometimes. So glad to see you. I guess the best thing about having you today is that we get to talk about the Canucks' last game and break down the game that they're going to be playing tonight. The story of that game definitely was Thatcher Demko. He hadn't had a start in 6 months. He had only played 8 minutes in this bubble situation that the Canucks are in, and came in and played the game of his life. One of the best performances that I've seen in a lot of years. And that was really impressive, and give Canucks one more opportunity at staying alive. It was really cool to watch.
Yeah, it really was. And you just had this bad feeling in your stomach as a Canucks fan as the game progressed, because you could see he was playing lights out. He was making every save, keeping his team in the game. The defense struggled, and we can talk about that later. But you just had this bad feeling that, oh man, if Vegas gets a goal or two, the Canucks are in tough. But Demko didn't allow that to happen, which was so cool to see. And he was so cool and calm and collected. And it's the beauty of this. And sports are all different. In hockey, the goalie is the main guy back there, and most teams have a number one guy. They ride him all the way through the playoffs. And with the injury to Markstrom, Thatcher Demko gets the call. I think he understood the night before there was a good chance he was going to play. He talked on the postgame after. He had a pretty good sleep and slept well and relaxed. And he showed that demeanor in his play the other night. I mean, it was fun to see. We all have a lot of history of watching Stanley Cup playoff games, and goalies stand on their head. It was a classic the other night. I mean, he kept his team in the playoffs. Should Vancouver go on from here and win tonight, possibly move on past Vegas, he'll be one of the big reasons why it'll happen.
Yeah, he sure will be. And I mean, he's been highly touted for a lot of years. Markstrom ended up passing him on the depth chart, approximately a couple of years back. But, the team said they've had faith in him. I think when that news came along that Markstrom wasn't going to be able to play, it really upset a lot of fans. It really made everybody think that was going to be it. This was going to be the final game going in. I even considered putting some money onto Vegas because, a guy hasn't played in that long. You just don't think that he's going to be able to come up with a performance like that. But it was the first time a goalie had won his NHL playoff debut when his team's facing elimination since Jose Theodore in 1997 with the Canadiens. Jose Theodore had 2 performances in that playoffs. One performance, he made 56 saves, and another one, he made 45 saves. Thatcher Demko made 42 saves, and some of the guys on this list making their playoff debut as an NHL goaltender, facing elimination and coming in. We've got Tony Esposito, Martin Brodeur, Ken Dryden, Jose Theodore and Bob Mason, unbelievable guys that came in. Obviously, we remember, years ago, Ken Dryden coming in, uh, rookie wins the cup for them, has that opportunity finally and just takes them all the way. I don't know if that's going to be the case here, but man, was it neat to see a guy be able to come in so rusty, not having that opportunity to face those NHL shooters in a game situation and just playing so well. That defense was terrible in front of him, and they can't play that way again tonight if they want to move forward. I'm not sure why they played so bad. What was your assessment of that defense that night?
Well, I just saw a lot of stick wagging at guys and not taking the man out. I remember Fred Harbison alluding to that during the B season last year or the year before of just not taking the guy out. But the one goal by Shea Theodore, I mean, he went around three guys so easily, and I mean that just can't happen. It just cannot happen. I mean the Canucks, relied on their goaltender, and he came through, and they got a win out of it. But Vegas is way too good and too fast and too big to allow that to happen again. I think tonight's got to be a very different story. It's tough to understand. I mean, it was nerve wracking. You're watching the game on TV and swearing and unhappy at it because you're seeing these guys make these mistakes. I know Troy Stetcher, former V, at one point, I can't remember who was coming down on him, and shot the puck past him into Canucks territory, and Stetcher kind of put up his arms a bit and slowed him down. You can't do anything more because if you do, you'll take a penalty. So you put yourself in a bad situation. The guy went around him and they had a 3-on-1 break then. Didn't score, luckily, but his best case is to turn around and get to that puck first and try to beat the man to it. So they have to improve their defense tonight. And I'm sure to every man on that Canucks defense, they realized they didn't play very well. They had a goalie that backed them up the other night. You don't want to rely on that again. And so they have to play better. And against the Vegas team that, like I say, is so quick in that transition, moving inside the blue line, they've got to control them a whole lot better. They just made a lot of mistakes. It was one of those games. It shouldn't be nerves or anything. They've been playing playoff games. It's the same group of guys, but they've got more depth that way and size as well. But yeah, they just can't. They can't get manhandled. They can't be just waving your sticks at a guy. You got to take a man out. You got to take him off the puck and not let him get that scoring opportunity.
Yeah, it surprised me. I thought that they would really tighten up their defense, knowing that Thatcher was coming in there, knowing that he hadn't had a lot of game action. I thought they would really, sort of park the bus and, really get in front of him and allow no chances. And it was the exact opposite, which was really, really surprising. Not that many players had very good games. I thought Brock Besser looked quite well. He had an assist and he had 5 shots on net. JT Miller, 2 assists, and he rang a shot off the post 5 minutes in that almost opened the scoring. Pettersson got the game winner and had 3 shots on goal. Hughes is progressing as this series wears on, and he's looking a lot better. He's been able to figure out some of the schemes that they're putting out him. He just tied most points in a postseason by a rookie defenseman. He tied Al McInnes, Glenn Wesley, Larry Goodenough, and Cale Makar for the Colorado Avalanche, who he's battling to get that Calder Trophy with. Both have 14 points. So he's had a phenomenal season, had a really rough start to this series, but played really great the other night, I thought.
Yeah, I thought so as well. I think, hey, what do we know when it comes to being an 18 and 19-year-old playing in the Stanley Cup playoffs? We can shake our heads at plays that are missed or miscues on the ice, but these guys are the ones that have to do it, and they're doing it when they're 18, 19, 20 years old. So you still have to give them a lot of credit. They're learning as they go. It's still a very young Canucks team. There's a few older players, Meyer or Beagle and T.J. Miller and Toffoli, those guys have been around and won cups. But for the most part, it's the younger core group that the Canucks are going to rely on. Quinn Hughes and Besser and Pedersen. Horvat's not that old yet either. But I know it was interesting talking to the guys or listening to the guys in the postgame the other night, how close they feel as a team. And to me, that is something I like to hear at this point. I mean, I'm a Canucks fan, but just a fan of the game. When you get those young teams and they start to hold in the playoffs, I mean, they didn't have a bad regular season. Obviously, it was cut short, but they just seem to be getting better and better. They've had their off games, and especially in this series, 2 of them are, and it's cost them, and they put themselves in a hole. But there just seems to be a good mentality in the dressing room. The players believe in themselves. I don't think when it was announced Markstrom wasn't going to play and Thatcher Demko was, I get the feeling that it didn't really cause anything too major in the dressing room because the guys have confidence in Thatcher Demko and still believe in their abilities. So it's like, no, he's not playing. You know what? We got a guy that can go in there and do the job, and he did. And Quinn Hughes is boy, he's going to be so good. I mean, he's good already. But each time we mention some of these stats, and all the list of those guys you mentioned, that Thatcher Demko equaled and Quinn Hughes, I mean, it's a fabulous list of players that had stellar NHL careers. So he's going to be a good one. We don't even want to think this, but going down the road a few years when it's time to sign all these guys is probably going to be a little bit difficult. So but we'll worry about that next year.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, let's not worry about it yet. But yeah, that's a big task for Jim Benning coming up. Lots of amazing young guys that are going to need and want some more money. But yeah, let's enjoy these guys while they're here. We touched on the Canucks really. Depth and all the great players that were playing well. Some of those Vegas guys are blowing me away. A BC boy from Langley, Shea Theodore, really, you mentioned his goal and, his confidence level. I think he's going to be a Norris Trophy winner one day soon. Man, does that guy have a lot of poise, and he looks super impressive on their back end. Yeah, he just has blown me away in the playoffs. I've been able to watch a lot of him, and yeah, he's a talent.
Yeah, he definitely is. I mean, he's so good in the back end, defensively inside the blue line, but has that scoring touch and has the offensive abilities as well. A big guy, and yeah, great to see. There's a lot of BC boys, a lot of former junior A players that are in this league. I mean, Cale Makar played in the Alberta Junior Hockey League, but he's a good one as well, and was highly touted and is showing so much right now. I know I was watching a bit of a side, but watching some of the highlights of him the other night, made that mistake and gave up the puck, and it resulted in a goal. But after that, the way he bared down and just didn't let anybody get past him really shows the true grit of a young player like that. So I know the Canucks have a lot to work on yet, or a lot of push that they're going to have to make, and getting by guys like Theodore is going to be key to him to push that defense. Vegas haven't really put Vegas on their heels too much, other than game 2, and they won that one quite handily. Vegas has taken the play to him a little bit more, and I think the Canucks have so much offense, so much talent and ability up front. I think if they can take the game to Vegas much more and pressure them in the offensive zone in the Vegas territory, I think they can have that much more success. I mean, we only scored a couple the other night, and that was enough. But there's not too often you're going to score 2 against Vegas and beat them. So I think they have to really get the offense going. Because they didn't have that many shots the other night, you put more pressure on the defense. Vegas was always in Vancouver's territory, and Thatcher Demko made the save. So we point to the defenseman, but let's face it, the puck was in Vancouver's end a lot the other night. That's got to change tonight. Canucks have to get some more offensive pressure and get more shots on net.
Yeah, they sure do. Yeah, and the shots were 43-17. If any of the viewers and listeners didn't know, the ice was slanted definitely in the second and the third period as Vegas tried to get that equalizer and take the series. But luckily Thatcher stood on his head, made 42 amazing saves, and looked great. I haven't heard yet if Markstrom's coming in or Demko's going to play again. Have you heard any word?
No, and I was just watching a few websites just before I came on with you to see if there was any indication. I know Travis Green, I was watching his news conference. It was from yesterday. But yeah, he wasn't going to give up anything at that point. It's a tough decision. I mean, I I think Thatcher Demko was probably, there was a lot of emotions involved in his effort the other night. He's a good goalie, we all know that. But he had something in front of him and he took advantage and played well and got a win for his hockey team. I think if Markstrom believes he's 100% tonight, I think if he believes he can play, I expect him to start. Um, I think it would be a good bounce back. Thatcher Demko might not be as good in that second game around because he doesn't have the emotions that he had in the opening game the other night. But hey, he's got to be 100% if he's not. Thatcher Demko goes, and I think the Canucks are still good with that. But yeah, it's likely to be a decision not made until close to the game. Maybe the Canucks know already. Maybe Travis Green's gone to Thatcher and said, "Hey, he's not ready. We're not telling anybody about it, but just so you know, be prepared to start." But it might be a game time decision as well.
Yeah, well, Vancouver's always had a lot of goalie controversies over the years, and yeah, had a lot of who should play, who's going to play. I didn't think that was going to rear its head in these playoffs, and Markstrom had played really well. Those back-to-back games, though, I think that really seemed to fatigue him, Markstrom. He just didn't look very strong in that game. Let in 5 goals, and yeah, it just seemed a bit off. And maybe it was an injury, maybe it was just sheer exhaustion. We haven't been told. They keep a lot of those, that information close to the vest and don't let us know. But yeah, I mean, either goalie, I'm confident in now. And yeah, it'd be great to see either one. I don't, I'm not hoping for one or the other, but I'm glad that they've got 2 options now, because it didn't seem like that throughout this playoffs.
Let's just hope that another one doesn't go down, because then they might be in a little more trouble. But at this point, yeah, I have confidence in both. And Markstrom, for as well as he's played, and I was out Cannery Brewing on Sunday, and there was girl standing in line. She was an Oiler fan, but she said, "You guys have Markstrom. He's the best goalie in the league." And I was somewhat surprised to hear that, given all of the great goaltenders in the league, that somebody would think of Markstrom. I mean, we all see him on a regular basis and know how good he is, but he's let in some bad goals as well. He'd be the first one to admit that. Some get by you, and you, as a goalie, you'd shake your head and say, "I can't let that happen again." But he's still played amazing. So whichever one's in there, I think most importantly, the skaters, the guys up front, defensemen and forwards, have full confidence in whichever one goes in there. And I think they, sometimes he needed a kick, and they should have got it after game 3, and it took 2 periods the other night, or after game 4, it took 2 periods the other night. But they finally started to play much better in the 3rd period. So maybe we have to have confidence in the fact that that kick is going to kind of show itself tonight a little bit more, that they know that if they play well, they can beat Vegas. I mean, Vegas is a highly touted team, and you listen to the broadcasters on the games, and a lot of people think Vegas has a good shot of winning the Stanley Cup this year, but I'm not convinced that the Canucks are that far behind him, and I am convinced that if the Canucks have a good team effort and get more pressure offensively, that they can win tonight, force game 7, and who knows what happens from there.
Yeah. Yeah, it sure would lend to a lot of excitement here if they do force a game 7. It's always spectacular knowing that win or go home, the stakes are all on the line, and typically you see a really great hockey game, and we're looking forward to that. The Canucks have done a pretty good job neutralizing some of the Vegas weapons. That top line of Carlson, Pacioretty, and Stone, have had a lot of opportunities, but they've been able to neutralize them for the most part. I couldn't believe Marchessault had 8 shots on net the other night. Same with Martinez and Pacioretty all had 5 shots, and they just keep coming in waves, that team. It is hard to pick a defensive core to try to neutralize one line, and then the other line's gonna come at you. So where do you think the Canucks have to focus in on? Will it be, trying to spread it out throughout the whole entire lineup, or do we want to neutralize that top line right away?
Well, I mean, Pacioretty's always impressed me. He's just such a good player, and same with Stone. They've both had, I think, pretty good series and had good scoring opportunities. Pacioretty probably a little more. I know Martinez, had a ton of shots along with Marchessault the other night, but I think for the most part, I mean, those guys are good players. They're going to get their scoring chances. You're not just going to totally shut them down. No team is going to do that. But I think the Canucks have done a fairly good job of keeping them off. I mean, Vegas shut them out twice in this series with two fairly easy victories. So, and those guys capitalized in those situations as well. But I think the Canucks have done a pretty good job of that. But it's going to have to continue as well. If they can hold them off the board, and then I think the other key is to get some secondary scoring out of the Canucks as well. The bottom two lines haven't contributed a heck of a lot offensively in this series, and that could be a turning point as well. If they did in the St. Louis series, and if they can start to turn things around, I mean, Besser and Pedersen and those guys are getting their looks and getting their points, but if those bottom two lines start to contribute offensively, then it's an entirely different Canucks team, and they have a different look for Vegas to contend with coming in as well, and then it puts the pressure on them that much more.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point. I'm glad you brought it up because, they for some reason aren't getting secondary scoring. They're not getting scoring from other defensemen. Edler was, really good in that Minnesota series, that St. Louis series. He hasn't been contributing too much in this series. They got to get some scoring from other defensemen. Tanev had that huge overtime winning goal. They've got to get like Tyler Mott. He looked really fantastic earlier on, but they don't seem to be the last few games getting that secondary scoring, and that's key. Because Vegas is going to try to shut down that top line, and once the Canucks can't get some production from that line, sometimes we see games like the other night where they were struggling and trying to hold on to a very slim lead.
Yeah. I really think that was the key in the St. Louis series. And Mott has back-to-back 2-goal games. Sutter was contributing. Roussel was contributing. You can't just rely on your top two lines all the time to score all the goals. I mean, they're more goal scorers up front. They're more offensively talented, no question. But those other guys have to contribute as well. And when they do, it takes the pressure off the first six, but it also puts more pressure on the opposing team, because when those bottom two lines are out there, they know that they've got to watch out going into their defensive corners, because Roussel might be coming at them and trying to push him or something like that. And Mott's a good guy to go to the corner and forecheck and dig the puck out. So it puts so much more pressure on the other team when your third and fourth lines are playing well, are contributing. They're not just out there to bang people around. They have the ability to score goals as well. And when they can do that, as we saw in the Blues series, it makes a huge difference for the hockey team and puts so much pressure on the other guys. So I'd like to see them contribute that much more tonight, put some pressure on, and then it allows the other two lines, I think, to feed off each other and just cycle through and do the things that they can do offensively.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I thought of this when Vegas was announced as the Canucks opponent. I thought, it is kind of lucky they're in the bubble. Travis Green doesn't have to worry about when they go to Vegas. A lot of guys want to go out and party and, take advantage of the nightlife there. Being in this bubble, they just, can go home. It was very refreshing to hear a professional athlete like Thatcher Demko say, I was in bed at 10:05, 10:10. I've made sure that I had great, I was eating very healthy and I felt terrific. And I think he would have been that same way even if they were in Vegas. That's not usually what we hear about professional athletes. They seem to, really want to celebrate their lifestyle and be out all the time. But a new type of professional athlete these days, getting into bed at 10 o'clock at night and eating healthy and making sure he's ready for his opportunity. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it really is. And the guys all alluded to it as well. So they see it and they see the benefits of all that. They see that it's helping him. Every player. I mean, I've traveled the bus a lot with junior hockey teams. Every player is unique and different, and is their own unique person that way. The tough thing as a coach these days, and in hockey, you've got 20 or 25 guys. Think of football with 40 or 45 or 50 guys traveling around some of those sports. But every coach has to dial into every single player and get a sense of, when he feels he's on or not on as much. Do you throw him out on a shift? I always remember when I was in Chilliwack, it was the Abbotsford Cardinals. It was I think the major baseball team, or the top minor baseball team in Abbotsford. I can't remember the coach's name at this point, but I asked him about it. He says, you know what, when to throw a guy in to pinch hit if he needs a big hit or something. He looks into his eyes. He looked into his eyes and could see if he thought that guy had something there, if he was ready to go, that kind of thing. And a coach in any sport has to do that. You've got to feel confident in their abilities. And Demko does what he's going to do to feel relaxed and comfortable and prepared. I mean, it's none of the other stuff matters at this point, baby. It's the playoffs. It's to win a Stanley Cup, and every player's got to buy into that. And these days, I think much more. I think back in the day, it was easier to go out for some beers after with the guys, kind of thing, and do those things. I don't think it happens near as much now. Maybe in an off day, if you're in Vegas for a couple of days and maybe you play a game and you're not going away or traveling for another day and you can go out that night. Yeah, I'm sure it happens. But in the playoffs and in the bubble, what else is there to do? They're tied to their hotel for the most part. They can't do a heck of a lot. They can't go anywhere. Can't have visitors and friends and family come in to see you. So hockey is the focus, and you're not tired because you're not traveling that much. You may be getting a little bored with the routine of that, but tired isn't one of them. So I like what he's done so far. I in some ways, I mean, I'm happy if Markstrom is healthy to go back in, but in some ways, part of me wants to see Thatcher Demko go in again and show that, hey, the other night just wasn't one of those nights. I do this night after night and see what happens from there.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. I'm. It would be fun to see Thatcher get another opportunity and continue, this great play and this great run. I do want to mention our partners and sponsors really quick. Anchor has been a really great partner with Complete Sports Media. They've been great at posting on multiple podcast platforms. They are the easiest podcast platform to create a podcast. If you're interested in doing that, go to completesportsmedia.com. There's a lot of details there where you can get onto Anchor FM. Verbero is a hockey equipment and apparel company that we're partnering with. They're an industry leader in technology, performance, and value, and their Mercury V350 is the lightest composite stick on the market, really getting rave reviews. Amazing price point. They sell directly to the player, the team, the league, the association. So there's no extra fees on top of it because it's going through retail. So for Barrow, you just go to our website, Complete Sports Media. You can get a coupon code and you get some money off your purchases there for equipment and apparel. And the last one is Forever Living. They're the aloe vera company. They grow and manufacture aloe vera themselves. And these are all aloe vera based products for health and beauty. Again, completesportsmedia.com for details on the products that they sell and how to get them. So please support our sponsors. So it's been a fantastic playoffs. Canucks, we've covered a lot of that. Colorado was able to stave off elimination again. Dallas looked so strong in those first 3-4 games. Going up 3-1. Now Colorado has forced the 7th game, and this series has been incredible. Nathan McKinnon, best player on the planet, just such an incredible talent. And we've always known, he was such a great player, but this playoffs, he's just been able to really showcase how amazing of a talent he is, and just such a joy to watch. I've really enjoyed watching this series.
Yeah. I haven't seen too much of it. I didn't get a chance to see last night's game. But yeah, we all know what he can do. He's just a tremendous talent. And it just seems, during some of those years, when Wayne Gretzky was in his prime, I mean, there just didn't seem to be much doubt that Wayne Gretzky was the best player on the planet. It was just so tough to argue. Mario Lemieux, for a while, you could say the same thing too. But these days, it's kind of tough to. There's just so many talented players in the league right now, which is so much fun to watch. It's great for hockey fans. And if you're not a hockey fan and you start to watch some of these games, especially down south where it's not as prominent, rink right around the corner or your backyard or anything, people start to watch this game. They have to be excited about it. And I'm happy to see Colorado coming back with these other series. It doesn't matter as much to me who wins, but I'm a bit of a Colorado fan that way. And Philadelphia's got a chance to win tonight. Our old buddy Alain Vigneault could win a game there and force a game 7, and the Canucks could do the same, and we could have 3 game 7s, which would be fun to see.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that Flyers Islanders game 6 goes tonight at 4:00 Pacific time, and then following the Golden Knights and Canucks 6:45. Disappointed that they weren't able to figure out how to get Canucks games on earlier, being Canada's team, the only Canadian team left in the NHL playoffs. I thought they would try to push it earlier so everybody across the entire country could watch it. Especially on the weekends, feels like they could push those games to, maybe a 5:00 Pacific start so everybody could do it. And it's nice when, the whole entire country can unite behind one Canadian team and try to, cheer them on. We saw it with the Raptors. We've seen it in a lot of NHL playoffs when a Canadian team has advanced to the final, the Oilers, the Flames, the Senators, we get behind it. And it just hasn't happened as much, I don't think, because so many Eastern fans can't really, stay up that late to watch games.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 7:45 start here. So yeah, it's, or even the 6:45 tonight, it's late, but there's been 7:30 and 7:45 starts as well. So not much later out east. I think we all remember when the Canucks played Boston. I'm sure there was more Canadian fans cheering for the Bruins than there were for the Canucks, and it's just part of being a Canucks fan and living in British Columbia. But they all want to go cheer for somebody else, and that's okay. We know we're good Canucks fans. We know what kind of team we've got here. But there seems to be a little bit of animosity that way. I think people across the country like to see, especially, the Canucks lose, but especially now because they're the only team left. You think that there would be a few more concessions. We were Grizzlies fans when Vancouver had a basketball team. I have no problem cheering for the Raptors now, the Canada's team. I'm not as much a Blue Jays fan because I'm a Mets fan. But the Raptors especially have ignited the entire country. And I was sitting there watching every game very closely last year on the run to the NBA championship. But yeah, with Vancouver, it's a little bit different. I don't think the Canucks will ever get. They can make it to the Stanley Cup final, and it doesn't matter who they're going to play. I'm sure there's still more Canadian fans cheering for the other guys than the Canucks, and which is crazy. I mean, you know what? We're Canucks fans, but if the Oilers or the Flames or any of those teams are in there, I'm going to hope that they win. I mean, it's good to see. It's good to see for Canada. You want to see a Canadian team win or a Western team win, but oh well. Let them go snooze and watch the highlights the next morning. We'll still be around. So
yeah. Well, for any of the viewers and listeners that don't know, the last Canadian team to hoist the Stanley Cup was Montreal Canadiens in 1993. Canucks made that final in 94 and 2011. And we've seen Canadian teams advance to that final, but just not be able to secure the cup. The cup will be hoisted on Canadian soil this year in one of the bubbles. I think it is in Edmonton. It's been confirmed. It's going to be happening in Edmonton. So, we'll at least have that. But I wish a lot more Canadian fans would get behind the last Canadian team standing and we could stop that drought. It's been way too long since Canadian team's been able to win the Stanley Cup. Way too long. You mentioned basketball and baseball in that last remark of yours. I do want to talk about the biggest news of the day. Steve Nash was named the coach of the Brooklyn Nets, and that came kind of out of left field for most people. I don't think they realized that he was trying to get that job, but he's been a consultant. He's worked with the Golden State Warriors in the last few years. And he had a relationship with Kevin Durant, who moved to Brooklyn this past off season, and it looks like they got together, were able to just make the Nets ownership and management structure realize that he was the right man for the job. And now suddenly I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan. I didn't know if I'd ever be, but Steve Nash is such an icon, Canadian sports, Canadian basketball, and the style of play that he played in Phoenix. I sure hope he can bring that to Brooklyn. Brooklyn had decimated with injuries this year, but he's taking over a team that really has a legitimate shot to go really far, and this is exciting for Canadian basketball, for BC people, and Steve Nash fans. Amazing news! I was so excited to hear that today.
Yeah, I was as well, and I had no idea. I got up this morning and flipped things on and started to find out what took place overnight or early in the morning, and that was the big news. And one of the reporters that was talking about says, kind of pointing out it's not sure how he'll do. He doesn't have NBA coaching experience. Well, nobody has NBA coaching experience till you get that first job and you get a chance to work with it. Got a 4-year commitment to be able to work with it, and a pretty good team to start with as well. But I still contend if the Grizzlies had drafted Steve Nash, we'd still have a basketball team in Vancouver, or there'd be a good chance that it still would have happened. Not to diss anybody else that they drafted, but I think it would have meant a huge thing for the franchise to have Steve Nash as good as he turned out to be. But you know what? It's going to be fun to have him there with, as you mentioned, his up-tempo style of playing the game. I think third, they said the other day, third in assists all time, back-to-back MVP awards. He was a dominant player during his time, and just so much fun to watch. Anything could happen when he had the ball. So I'm sure the same is going to hold true for the Brooklyn Nets next year. And with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, they've got a couple of good players to start with there for him to work with. So I'm looking forward to him taking over there, and they'll play in the same division as the Raptors as well. So they'll face each other numerous times. It's going to be fun to see.
Yeah, sure will be. Yeah. I guess the only question mark that came up for me is, will he be able to get along with Kyrie Irving? Kyrie has been notorious for, not getting along well with his coaches, some of his teammates. He's been, left town in not very great circumstances the last couple stops he had before Brooklyn. There was a lot of talk, he wanted to actually boycott the entire playoffs. He didn't want anybody to go into that bubble. He said he wanted them to further the Black Lives Matter movement and not play any games at all. And he is, he's a talent, but he can be very difficult and challenging for coaches to keep on the same page. So let's hope Steve Nash is able to get along well with Kyrie and KD. And this team, once everybody's healthy, really is, super talented, but chemistry is important in basketball, of course, unlike most team sports.
Yeah, it's and there's no I in team, as has been said millions and millions of times over the years. And basketball, I think above all the other sports is we've seen that time and time again. And even when the Grizzlies were in Vancouver, it was a very different atmosphere. You'd have Canucks players that would jump over each other to try to go to a community event and things like that. And I think it was much different with NBA players. We saw that in Vancouver. It was tough to get those players out. And if they did, they wanted a whole lot of money to get them out. And it just didn't give you a good vibe at times that way. I think Steve Nash certainly bucked that trend. He's we'll say a good Canadian boy that way, but he realizes his roots that much more, and that he's not above the game. It's a team game, and everybody's got to be a part of it. So there's a lot of coaches that have those situations, and you can feel their frustrations at times when you listen to them, and we don't know what happens in the locker room after and before games as well. But you've got to have everybody on side. It's got to happen. But the sport itself has to be the key. I support all the teams and players that step back in light of the shooting in Kenosha a couple of weeks ago and supported the Black Lives Matter and took a couple of nights away from playing games to get people more aware of the issues. But it's still got to be about the game. It's still got to be about the sport, and players have to realize that. It's the important thing. That's why people buy tickets and jerseys and spend the thousands that they do, because they appreciate that team and they want to support it as much as they can. So it's always going to be a handful when you're a head coach in whatever sport it is, I think.
True. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it could be a huge task. He signed a 4-year contract, really a lot of security there, I guess. And yeah, it'll be amazing to see him back in the league in such a great capacity, and all the best for Steve Nash. I'm really happy that news came forward. I do want to touch on a few things. Definitely, let's not forget to talk about the Sedin jerseys that were stolen from there. But I'd like to first touch on Tom Seaver. I know you're a Mets fan, and Tom Seaver passed away yesterday at the age of 75. Was very instrumental in bringing that Mets team in, the Miracle Mets World Series victory, 300 wins, a Hall of Famer, one super classy guy, and always nice to think of him as a Met. I know he played from some other organizations, but I know you were a big fan and somebody that thought highly of Tom Seaver. Tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, we all kind of knew it was coming because he's been sick for a while, and watching the Mets games that I do, they talk occasionally about him, and with his dementia, he wasn't getting out. He wasn't coming to New York anymore. Pretty much stayed at his vineyard in Napa Valley these days. But yeah, he's my all-time favorite player. We all have our players, and Tom Seaver is it. I remember reading his book probably in the mid 70s sometime, and became a New York Mets fan because of it. So I just vividly remember in high school reading that book, becoming a Mets fan, named my son York. It just all kind of goes from there. So, and when I had the ability to start watching Mets broadcast, Tom was doing color in the broadcast, so quite a few years ago now. But I just always appreciated his insight. He was a good guy, and you got the feeling. Never met him, of course, but you just got the feeling from watching him, his demeanor and everything, that he was a hell of a good guy. Yeah, and a great baseball player. 300 plus wins. Really was a driving force in '69. The Mets won 40 games in their initial season, and 7 years later, winning a world championship that nobody believed they would. But just like we talked about with players believing in themselves, the Mets believed in themselves that year when nobody else did, and they kind of took it upon their shoulders to prove everybody wrong, I think, and Tom Seaver led the charge. So yeah, it's tough. It's life. It happens. You just kind of sit back, appreciate the good things that he did, and been watching a few of the highlights and top moments from over the years, and he's just a fun pitcher to watch. It's a lot of years now that he was 75, so it's a lot of years, 35 plus years ago since he was playing in the league. So it's a long time now, and a lot of young fans wouldn't know him. They'd recognize the name maybe, but he was a good one, and yeah, he'll be missed as a person, and when those Mets reunions happen, he won't be there, and that'll be tough for some guys to swallow probably. So.
Yeah, true. Yeah. No, it's just nice to have some light shed on the Mets organization that, have had their ups and downs, and definitely went through some tough times when he left the organization. Yeah, really great guy. Amazing to, see all the accolades and great words pouring in from so many baseball people, and yeah, sad to see, but yeah, great to be able to relive a lot of his amazing moments. One of the greatest pitchers to ever live, and yeah, what a storied career, and always be remembered as a very solid contributor to baseball and to the Mets organization. And yeah, great Hall of Famer. Yeah, I knew that he was one of your top guys, and yeah, your all-time favorite guy. So yeah, sad to see. Condolences to him and to his family and friends. Yeah, let's talk about another unfortunate incident. The BC Hockey Hall of Fame is located where you live in Penticton, in the arena there, and there was a theft of some signed Sedin jerseys from there. Any word on, have they been recovered yet?
To the best of my knowledge, no, they have not been recovered. Um, and it's strange. Blaine Ford, is the executive director, works so hard with the Hall of Fame here. It's based in the South Okanagan Event Center. So you come into a V's game and you walk down the hallway, you can walk right through the BC Hockey Hall of Fame. So I think it's very unique that way. There's a section for all of the inductees into the BC Hockey Hall of Fame. And of course, last year in 2019, the Sedins were inducted into the Hall of Fame. Was at that ceremony last year. Did a couple of stories with Blaine for Penticton Now a few weeks ago on the displays. Took some photos of those two Sedin jerseys in the displays there. And somebody walked in. Blaine came in one morning about 2 weeks ago to try to do some work there, and yeah, the door was jimmied open and the two jerseys have been taken. So they're autographed jerseys. They're obviously collector's items. They're jerseys that were inducted into the BC Hockey Hall of Fame. So an encouragement to anybody in the Vancouver area, any of your viewers and listeners, that if you happen to see two Sedin jerseys being offered like that, they could possibly be the ones from the Hockey Hall of Fame. So get in touch with RCMP and I'll get an update from Blaine for the next time we chat and find out what the latest is. But it's obviously tough to get them back. They know they can replace them with a couple of signed jerseys from Henrik and Daniel. That's not the issue. It's just and now they're looking at ways to secure things a little bit better. I mean, they are a lot, of course. They're in behind glass in display cases, but it's unfortunate. There are people that do those kinds of things in the world, and yeah, we hope that they can get them back. They'll get replaced somehow, but it would be great to have the original jerseys that were part of the induction ceremony.
Yeah, I understand that there was some pictures. They did have some pictures of the suspect that were released. Is there a place where people can see those and find them?
Yeah, if you go to, it was on Crime Stoppers, so you can find out some information that way. And of course, a lot of the media here in Penticton and through the Open jumped on it and ran the story as well. So there's plenty of ways that people can find out some information, and if they get a sense, the person who kind of walked the arena, and it's tough during summer months because there's not as much security there, that type of thing, and Okanagan Hockey School was running sessions at that point as well. So there's players on the ice, parents are going in to watch, the arena doors are open, so it's easy for anybody to get in there. But yeah, there were some pictures of the suspect. So people get a chance to go to Crime Stoppers. They just might know who that is and might connect the two jerseys as well. And another point on a more positive side with BC Hockey Hall of Fame, Blaine's been working hard to increase some memorabilia in the Hockey Hall of Fame. There's a few different sections. There's a BC Hockey League section. There's the induction or the inductees section. There's also a section at the back of the arena that he wants to add more Canucks memorabilia, more senior hockey memorabilia, more women's, more First Nations, Indigenous memorabilia, and there's a lot out there through the province. So it's the BC Hockey Hall of Fame. Anybody can check out their website, get a hold of Blaine, but you've got artifacts sitting there that have some serious meaning to them from years gone by from hockey in this province. Get a hold of the BC Hockey Hall of Fame. They would love to hear from you. You might have something sitting in the basement, or your parents do. It's just sitting there, but it's got something to it. It was part of a championship team from Prince George 40 or 50 years ago. Get a hold of the Hockey Hall of Fame because I know they'd like to hear from you.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, and I'm sure there is a ton of memorabilia around. Almost any person that I've visited their home seems to have some, things from yesteryear. And like you say, it ends up in a basement and a box in your parents' basement. You might as well let people enjoy it and put it on display. And yeah, that's a fantastic hallway that they have there, and I'm glad that they're wanting to expand it more and more. BC hockey is something to be very celebrated. We've got incredible feats and accomplishments coming out of this province for players, teams. Very, very incredible history, and I really enjoyed visiting that part of the arena there and that Hockey Hall of Fame. I was sad to hear that somebody broke in and stole some things from there, but I hope that there will be lots more donations and a lot more contributions to further the Hall of Fame. It's a really great display there.
Yeah, they're going to work on it a little bit and try to have it going for, I think, December. At this point, the BCHL is looking at a December 1st start for its season. So they're hopeful to have those other display cases filled up then with memorabilia from the wide range that I mentioned earlier. But yeah, it's just so cool. I mean, you forget about a lot of these players and the teams that won championships that are from BC. So to walk through there is amazing. And I know you enjoyed yourself tremendously when you were here for the V's game about a year ago. Just a quick note as well, just ran a story today in the Kootenai International Junior Hockey League. So it's a team of about 20, a league of about 20 teams, pretty much stretches from Princeton up into north of the Kamloops area, all the way pretty much to the border, Golden. So they're going to start November 13th. They've adjusted things. 17 of the 20 teams, 100 Mile House won't play, and Beaver Valley won't play, and Spokane won't play because of the border issues. So 3 teams have gone dark for this upcoming season, but they've confirmed November 13th. Haven't had a chance to check on some of the other junior B leagues, but it's September now. We're thinking hockey that much more, especially with the playoffs on. But we hope things can somewhat cool down with COVID-19. Everybody gets a handle on things. We all do our part, because we all want to go to live hockey games sometime soon. And junior A, junior B and major junior is always fun to watch. So.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I've been keeping my eye on a ton of the leagues around and seeing when they plan to start. Some are planning to start in September, some are planning to start in November, December. Yeah, so all different start dates. And you'll have to keep tuned to Complete Sports Media and to the various league websites to find out when they're starting, and go support junior hockey. It's absolutely amazing, and it's really fun when you can watch players develop at that young age, and then a few years later you see them in the NHL. Dale mentions it every episode. Some of these great guys that have come through Penticton and some of the other teams that are in your league. Some of the best talents that we see. Cale Makar, great example of a guy that played in that league, out there. And great way to spend your Saturday nights, your Fridays and your Saturdays, and you really get an opportunity to see really incredible hockey. These guys play for the love of the game and play really, really hard, and the hockey is just so fun to watch. It's just so fast and so furious, and just something that you'll remember for years and years to come if you get opportunity to go to games.
Yeah, and support these guys however you can. I know the KIJHL is looking at starting without fans at this point, so things could change by mid-November and December that they could have fans back. The BC Hockey League hasn't really said much recently. I think they're kind of waiting to see. I think they're expecting that things will improve enough to be able to have fans at games starting December 1st. I think it'll be difficult for a lot of teams. I mean, I had a good conversation with Randy Bedard yesterday, owner of the Soyuz Coyotes. And, what do? You're an owner. You go into a league meeting. You don't want to not play for the year. But to say yes to playing for the year means that you can't go market the team. You won't have anybody in the stands to help pay the bills. So I do a lot of the announcing, goals and assists and music at Coyotes games when I'm not at a V's game. And Randy has a mic down on the ice and does a lot of the promo announcing. Well, there won't be any promos to be done because there's no fans in the stands. So he'll probably handle all the goals and assists and everything. But, these owners, whether it's community team or individual, they're going to have some hardships. And we need to support them if it means buying some merch from them and helping them that way. When it does come back, you're going to need support from everybody in all of these hockey communities. I mean, it's a great game. It's our lifeblood, and we spend so much time talking about it and how it transpires into the Hockey Hall of Fame down the road for those that are successful in their careers, and builders as well, and teams as well. And speaking of Hockey Hall of Fame, quickly, the 2019 inductees, or sorry, the 2020 inductees that were supposed to be inducted about 3 weeks ago, they're going to roll over and be inducted in 2020. I can't remember if we mentioned that in the past episode. So, so the V's team that won the Rollbank Cup, the Kootenai team that won a Memorial Cup, those guys that were supposed to be inducted this year will get inducted next year, and then they'll have a new crop the year after. So
that's great. Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that. That's excellent. Yeah, well, we've reached the end of another great episode. I'm so happy you joined me. Let's hope the Canucks don't rely so much on their goaltending tonight and put it on the shoulders of Markstrom or Demko to win. Hopefully they play a lot better defense. Hopefully they get that secondary scoring like you mentioned. Hopefully the refereeing is a lot better. There was some pretty bad refereeing in my opinion that night. And I don't think I'm going to get a fine for saying that. But yeah, let's hope there's a lot better performance from the Canucks as a whole. And yeah, it's a lot tighter game. And I hope Canucks can force a Game 7. It'll be really exciting for me, for you, for everyone around here.
I got my jersey just sitting over here, so I am ready to go. My son York's been in Alberta for a few days, but he left early this morning to get back tonight to be here for the game. So we will be cheering hard, as well as so many other people. I was out for a walk with the police chief in Penticton this morning. He goes for a walk around 10 every day, so I went for a walk down Main Street with him, and we passed quite a few guys with Canucks shirts on and ready for the game tonight. So you know what? It builds things up. It's exciting. It's exciting for everybody, even if you're not a Canucks fan. You feel the vibe. You get pumped up about it, and so yeah. I hope they keep winning. I hope that they can pull off a win. I'd love to see a Game 7. It'd be fun for everybody, and see if they can keep on going. We're still going to be talking Canucks next week, right?
Sounds great. Yeah, well, thanks so much for your time today. I know you're a busy guy. Get on with your afternoon. Get out and enjoy the sunshine. And I'm sure we'll text a little bit later when the Canucks are up and winning this game tonight and forcing that Game 7.
Yeah, for those that don't know, yeah, we go back and forth texting, and when there's an awesome goal, we say something, or if there's a bad call, we hear about it as well. So we have fun watching. So let's have some fun tonight.
Sounds great. Okay. All right. All the best. Take care of yourself, and we'll do this again next week. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
All right. You too. Cheers. All right. Okay. Well, thanks again, everybody. I really appreciate you checking in with us and checking out our podcasts. Thanks again to our sponsors. Please support them, and find us on your podcast platforms. Find us on YouTube. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, tell your friends and family, and yeah, let's keep this going. It's a lot of fun. Enjoy the Canucks game tonight. Enjoy the golf over the weekend, and yeah, take care of yourself. We'll see you again very soon. Love you. Bye for now.